Geehrter Herr Lenk, ich bitte Sie, zu Stehpult zu kommen, um Ihre Rede zu halten. Herr Lenk. آقای گیورگ لنخ، اینجور که در اتریشی تلفظ میشه، سفیر کبیر مشاور بین المللی آقای برونو کرایسکی بودن، صدر اعظم اتریش در زمان انقلاب، که آقای کرایسکی در مورد گروگانگیری و جنگ ایران و عراق از طریق سفیر کبیر خود آقای لنخ وساطت میکرد.
Thank you. Dear friends in grief in the demise of Abolhassan Banisadr, former president of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Allow me first to extend my sincerest condolences to the family of President Banisadr and thank those who organized this ceremony, in particular Mrs. Ahmad Salamatian, Said Sanjabi, Ali Reza Nobari, who I had met in Tehran 40 years ago, and Humayun Alizadeh, to have invited the Bruno Kreisky Forum for International Dialogue. Bruno Kreisky, then Austrian Chancellor, met Banisadr during a highly political visit in May 1980. At that time, I served as his principal foreign affairs advisor, and I would like to recall these events here. President Banisadr has remained up to this day, this was just said, a focal point of the democratic aspirations of the Iranian people in the country and in the world, and he will continue to be remembered for his courageous actions in Iran's political development. There are remarkable similarities between the political careers of Bruno Kreisky and of President Banisadr. Kreisky began his political activities already in high school and became an active member of the Socialist Party, which was outlawed by the authoritarian Christian social government in 1934. Kreisky continued his clandestine party work, was arrested and spent 18 months in prison. In 1938, after the takeover of Hitler Germany in Austria, he had to leave the country in a dramatic journey via Berlin to Sweden, where he stayed 10 years in exile. Back in Austria in 1948, he soon became state secretary, then Minister for Foreign Affairs. In 1966, he took the leadership of the Socialist Party and was elected as Austrian Federal Chancellor in 1970. In this position, he continued to be highly interested in foreign policy matters and to participate also in the Socialist International. He firmly believed that the Palestinian question was one of the most crucial and critical issues jeopardizing peace and stability in the Middle East. It was for these reasons that he took the lead in a series of visits with the Socialist International to all Arab countries and to make himself and the Socialist International familiar with and to better understand the intricacies of the region. It was therefore no surprise that Kreisky became involved in addressing the spectacular hostage crisis in the American embassy in Tehran of 1979. He was officially contacted only a few days later by emissaries from the then President Carter. Soon after, channels of communication were established from the Iranian side, which culminated in a personal invitation extended by President Banisadr to Bruno Kreisky to participate in an international conference in Tehran. Parallel to this, Kreisky had proposed to lead a mission of the Socialist International to Tehran with the objective to look at the Iranian Revolution in a wider context. Preparations for such a visit were carried out in great secrecy because of security concerns and because of the highly volatile situation in Tehran. On May 25, 1980, Bruno Kreisky, Felipe González, the Spanish socialist leader, and Olof Palme, the former Prime Minister of Sweden, boarded a small plane into the direction of Tehran. The pilot told us right at the beginning that he had not yet received a landing permission for Tehran and would have to consider alternative landings in the east of Turkey. 3 hours later, the permission did come. We were officially received at the airport by Foreign Minister Sadeghi Gotsadeh, and later were received for dinner by the former president of the Iranian National Bank, Ali Reza Nobari. Afterwards, we were driven by an official convoy to meet President Banisadr. But our nerves were still on edge. I was sitting in a car in the front seat with Olof Palme and Felipe González in the back. Palme suddenly asked me, "Do you know where we are going?" And I replied, "Of course, we meet the president at 10 o'clock. And Palme, "But there is no car in front of us and none behind." And suddenly, the three of us fell silent, and we realized that this might be the beginning of another hostage-taking. I tried to talk to the driver, who did not respond, but drove on the empty streets of Tehran at high speed, grilling every possible red light. We stayed silent when suddenly the driver made a U-turn and continued in the opposite direction at the same speed. At around 10:20, to our relief, we entered the courtyard of Banisadr's residence. We were ushered upstairs and entered a little shaky the salon where the president was chatting with Kreisky and Nobari. Kreisky turned his head and said to us almost jokingly, "Here you are." The official talks could begin. The Socialist International delegation assured President Banisadr that the Socialist International was sympathetic to the Iranian revolution, as its aim was to establish democracy. Kreisky suggested that the delegation from Iran could be invited to the next Congress of the SI. Such a contact would have been greatly facilitated if Iran could and would resolve the hostage crisis. A similar discourse, expanded usually by Olof Palme and González, was presented to all other interlocutors on the next day, including a long second meeting with Banisadr, but it became soon clear that the clerical side of the Iranian power game had more to gain from a wait-and-see position. This was particularly emphasized by Ayatollah Beheshti, asking, "Why the haste?" This visit had a high international significance, as it was the first visit after the revolution by a Western head of government and other high-level political leaders. It had been risky for them, and it was risky for President Banisadr. It was an act of political courage on both sides. As you all know, a few months later, the balance of power had shifted, and President Banisadr had to leave his own country, as so many others around him. But Banisadr and Kreisky continued to keep contact for many years, as letters and messages show. Therefore, I'm very proud to extend here a message of condolence and highest appreciation from and in the name of the Bruno Kreisky Forum, and I might add, in the name of the late Bruno Kreisky, for Abolhassan Banisadr, a great, courageous political leader, and as the only democratically elected president of Iran, a symbol and a shining light for his country. So thank you.